Welcome to the Elihu podcast. Today is January 28th, 2026, and we are continuing on day 28 of reading through the Bible. Today, Job's three friends are no longer responding to him because they're angry with him that he keeps insisting that he is innocent. So now we have a young man named Elihu, who is the son of Barachel the Buzite from the clan of Ram, and he is angry. Evidently, he's been sitting around listening to these conversations the whole time and not said anything, and so now he is going to speak. He's angry because Job has refused to admit that he sinned, and he's angry because Job says that God is punishing him. And then he's also angry at the three friends because they have been unable to answer Job's arguments. So they make God appear to be wrong because they cannot refute what Job is saying. So now he has finally stood up and he's starting to speak because he can't help it anymore. So he stands up and talks about the fact that you guys are old and I am young. And I have not talked because I thought those who are older should speak because they have wisdom. But there's a spirit within people and the breath of the Almighty within them that makes them intelligent. So I see that sometimes elders are not wise. Sometimes the aged don't understand justice. So listen to me, and I will tell you what I think. He's waited all this time, listening carefully. He's not said anything, but he is frustrated because no one has refuted Job. And he says, don't tell me that he's too wise for you and only God can convince him. If Job had been arguing with him, he says that he would not have used their logic. And now he's upset because they're sitting there baffled, not knowing what to say. So now he's going to talk. He says that the words are just pent up inside of him. He's like a wineskin about to burst, that he just has to speak now. He starts talking and says that he speaks with all sincerity and truth because the Spirit of God has made him and the breath of the Almighty gives him life. Answer me if you can and make your case and take your stand. Look, you and I both belong to God. I too was formed from clay. So you don't need to be afraid of me. I won't come down hard on you. So he talks about how he's listened to everything he's said, and he's listened to Job say that he is pure and without sin, and he is innocent and has no guilt. He's listened to Job say that God is picking a quarrel with him and considers Job his enemy. And he says that Job is wrong. And he will show him why, because he says God is greater than any human being. So why are you trying to take a charge against him? Why are you saying that God does not respond to people? He does all the time, but people just don't see it. He comes in visions and dreams, and when people fall asleep and lie in their beds, he whispers in their ear. He gives them warnings to try and keep them from the grave, or keep them from death, and keep them from pride or doing wrong. And then he says that God disciplines people, and sometimes he does this on their sick beds. He makes them lose their appetite. Their flesh wastes away, and they get to death's door and wait for the angels of death to come get them. But sometimes an angel from heaven would appear, a special messenger to intercede for the person and declare that he's upright. And then he would be gracious and rescue him from the grave because there is a ransom for his life. And then his health would be restored. And when he prays to God, he would be accepted, and God would receive him with joy and restore him to good standing. Then that person would tell his friends that he had sinned and twisted the truth, but it was not worth it, that God rescued him from the grave, and now his life is filled with light. And he said God does these things again and again for people. He rescues them so that they can enjoy light in their life. And then he says, Job, listen to me, for I have more to say, but if you have something to say, I will stop. But then he goes on. He says, the ear tests the words that it hears, just as the mouth distinguishes between foods. So let's discern, all of us together, what is right and what is good. If Job says, I am innocent, but God has taken away my rights, I am innocent, but they call me a liar. My suffering is incurable, though I have not sinned. So tell me, has there ever been a man like Job, with his thirst for irreverent talk? He chooses evil people as companions. He spends time with wicked men. He's even said, why waste time trying to please God? God repays people according to their deeds. He treats people as they deserve. Truly, God cannot do wrong. The Almighty will not twist justice. Did someone else put the world in its care? Who set the whole world in its place? If God were to take back his spirit and withdraw his breath, all life would cease, and humanity would turn to dust. So, could God govern if he hated justice? Are you going to condemn the Almighty Judge? For he says to kings you are wicked, and to nobles that you are unjust. He doesn't care how great a person is. In a moment they will all die. God watches how people live, and he knows everything that they do. No darkness is too thick for God. He brings the mighty to ruin without asking anyone, and he sets up others in their place. He knows everything that everyone does. If people turn away from him and have no respect for his ways, and they cause the poor to cry out, they catch God's attention. He hears the cries of the needy. But if he chooses to remain quiet, who can criticize him? When he hides his face, no one can find him, whether an individual or a nation. He prevents the godless from ruling so that they cannot be a snare to the people. So why don't people say, I have sinned, but I will sin no more? Or, I don't know what evil I've done, tell me. If I have done wrong, I will stop at once. Must God tailor his justice to your demands? But you have rejected him. The choice is yours, not mine. So go ahead and share your wisdom with us. After all, bright people will tell me, and wise people will hear me say that Job speaks out of ignorance, and his words lack insight. So, Job, you deserve the maximum penalty for the wicked way that you have talked, for you have added rebellion to your sin, and you show no respect, and you speak many angry words against God. So this young man seems to be speaking the most truth out of all of Job's friends. He still believes that Job probably has sinned, but he doesn't like the way that Job has spoken against God. And yet, he still doesn't know the truth of what God's plan is and what is happening here. But he makes one really true statement. Tell me, has there ever been a man like Job? I think that's the key here. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again tomorrow.